Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Rickcast. I'm Rick, and the internet is a buzzing, and it's filled with trash. So let's talk about it. I don't know what's going on. There's like 100 of you watching on X right now. Uh, Hi. This is something that doesn't usually happen for me, so I'm really happy to have you here. Really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for hanging out with me this evening. I'm Rick. This is Rickcast, and we kind of just talk here and figure out what's going on. I give you my opinions. I'm not an expert in anything. I'm a Catholic guy who has opinions, right? I'm another vapid podcast talking into the wind. But hey, you're hanging out with me, and I appreciate that. So like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell, do all the fun things to see if this is going to continue to go. We're going to podcast every night, Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern, except Thursday. There won't. I know I just started this week, and there won't be a podcast on Thursday because I am going to be filling in for Anthony on Avoiding Babylon that night. And since the show they start at 7, this show's at 6. If you try to plan for both, neither one of them are going to get the attention they deserve. So there's not going to be one on Thursday night, but I will be on with Rob from Avoiding Babylon. He was kind enough to extend the offer to let me guest host for Anthony, and I am happy to do so. And so I will be there Thursday night, and so there will be no Rickcast on Thursday. All right, hey, so what are we talking about tonight on this episode of Rickcast? We're talking about the South Korean coup that took place, the coup that wasn't a coup, that wasn't. Donald Trump possibly talks about annexing Canada. It's only it's something I'm pretty sure he made in jest, just to see Justin Trudeau's hair stick on the back of his head, and then all of a sudden everybody's running with it. And I don't know about you, but I don't actually. If anybody from Canada is watching, which if you are, hello to our great white neighbors up north. I don't really want y'all. Sorry, you're way too liberal. And even though we would be liberating some, that country is like way off the cliff. And I don't think even Trump annexing it and bringing it under these United States wouldn't help. I don't think it would. Let me know if you think it would in the comment section. But I don't think it would. The Snow White trailer dropped, and it's trash. Pretty much what everybody expected it to be, which I don't know what's the budget on this thing. It's way over $200 million with the amount of reshoots and the amount of things they've done with it. The redoing of the dwarfs from the magical hippie people that look like they were all smelled to now digital dwarves because Peter Dinklage pulled up the ladder behind them, and then that's not a short joke. That's actually something people say. And it just looks awful. It looks terrible. And Rachel Zegler continues to Zegler. Sorry, Rachel Zegler. I don't want to missay her name because now even people on the left, that's a big deal. You got to say people's names right? Camila, whatever your name is. 3 sheets to the wind. But we have that. It doesn't look good. This thing's gonna flop hard, like really hard. And I know there's gonna be a lot of people that are going to be excited about failure, because when people are jerks, we want to see them get their comeuppance. Even though it looks like Rachel Zelger is kind of one of those anointed people. She's already got a role lined up for the Gloria Stefan movie. Now, of course, it's not actually done until they filmed it and produced it and put it out in the theaters. And that nowadays people talk about, oh, well, I've signed for this role and these movies have been announced and they don't come to fruition. So just because she's been announced as part of that project, if Snow White doesn't even make a quarter of its money back, that could make her absolutely radioactive. Really could. So we'll see about that. And then finally, we'll talk about the GOP action on guns and the supposed mandate that they have. I've been talking about this a little bit because I really hope, and I have to say hope because it's the GOP. And you and I know that the GOP is bound to make the dumbest possible moves in the world because we are the party, or these are the people of the party of Lindsey Graham. and Tom Tillis and pretty much every moron you could find, slap a GOP label on them. Somehow they get elected to Congress, and now they're there for 60 years. Mitch McConnell, the turtle, included. So we'll see how that goes. But we're going to talk about some of the things that they could do, they should do, and that is not focus on reciprocity. Everybody's going to, your gun groups, I get it. The gun groups are going to talk about, hey, maybe you should focus on reciprocity. That's what we need to do. We need to get a national concealed carry reciprocity. I think that's dumb. I think it's really dumb, and you should not waste your time on it. Now, of course, I'm saying you shouldn't waste your time on it, which means the GOP is going to waste all of its time on it. And that's going to be it. And if anybody has any questions or anything like that, you want to drop in there in the chat or anything, let me know, because I'd really like you to be a part of the show. As you can tell, it's just me kind of blabbing on here for this entire time period. So if you want to drop a comment in the comment section, I would. Oh, look, what can we do? Holla, what's going on, my friend? It's good to see you. Thank you for watching on the YouTubes. And you've been around for a while, my man. I haven't seen this many people like watch my show ever. So I'm kind of dumbfounded, like legitimately dumbfounded that you guys are honoring me with your presence. And it is, there's so many people out there with so many different options as podcasts, and the fact that you're watching on wherever you are is great. So I'm going to shut up because it sounds like I'm wasting time, which apparently the first 10 minutes of every show I just like to decide to burn. But I don't want to. Let's get to it. First one of the day. Boom. That's not the right one. That is. All right. So this happened today, and apparently it's done. Let's see. I know G Money. I know. I just didn't know how TXFE. I didn't want to say that. I know who you are. He's my man. He's trying to get Brian to join. Nice. That's what I'm talking about. So this happened today, in case you can't see it because of the thing. So South Korea apparently woke up and they're like, hey, we're bored. Let's do a coup. Let's just like do some stuff because nobody's paying attention to us right now. That's what it feels like, what's going on in the world. Because we're focusing on the Ukraine, and we're focusing on Taiwan, and we're focusing on the Middle East. South Korea emulated North Korea. North Korea likes to fire off rockets every once in a while just to get people to pay attention to them. Looks like the South Koreans are like, oh, that's a very good strategy. We do that too. And so they decided to, whatever. If you don't like my impressions, I'm a stupid fat white guy on the internet. Don't get offended by it. They're like, oh, maybe we should do it too. And so now they were like, hey, let's wake up and do a coup, right? Let's just, the president woke up and was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do this anymore. And I'm going to declare these people no good. What does that mean? That means that he woke up and he imposed this order as the People Power Party, which, by the way, Republican and Democrat is so boring. We need to have like the People Power Party. That's awesome. We need to rename our parties. I want the People Power Party. That's pretty cool. And the other, you can call them like the Loser Stinky Cat Party or whatever. We might as well. It's all a game show anyway at this point. So he declared martial law, and the military backed it. And the military was like, that's cool. Let's do it. Let's do martial law. Yeah, let's do the thing. And they did the thing. And they took over the Parliament building, and then the leader of the Democratic Party in South Korea was like, no, you're not going to do this. And they went back and forth, and the Parliament said, we're not going to do this anymore. And okay, I don't know what just happened. Probably because I actually have 230 people watching. The internet's like, hey, we're not going to work. So I apologize if I just kind of dropped. But I'm here. I'm back. Give me a thumbs up, G Money, if this sounds good or it doesn't sound good. I don't know what just happened. I think I might have actually broke my own internet. You guys broke my internet, so thank you. That was kind of crazy. I'm talking, and all of a sudden I don't exist. It's telling me that there's nothing wrong here. So that was kind of weird, but that's anyway. So yes, we need to have the Hulkamania party. We might as well, right? We need to have the Hulkamania party and like the Vin Diesel party. That would be fantastic. So anyway, let me get back into this. They started a coup early in the morning, and then the president was like, "Oh, well, the parliament told me I shouldn't do a coup, so we're not going to do it anymore," which makes it the lamest coup ever. Why would you do that? Why would you start a coup and then everybody's like, "Hey, we don't want to do this anymore." And he goes, "Oh yeah, all right, cool. Well, I guess we'll stop then." All right, that's fine. Now, it is very interesting. Did you know, and I don't have this stat to pull up, I have it to the side of me, that almost every single president of South Korea, and I'll retweet this on Alarm Catholic, it's by the amazing NEXTA TV. The presidents of South Korea since 1948 have either been overthrown or assassinated or put in prison. Every single one of them. The only one that didn't was Moon Jae-in, which I'm not North Korean, so I can't say the name correctly. But the last one before, Yoon Suk Yeol, which is the guy that said, "Hey, we're gonna coup but not coup." Yoo Suk Yeol, he's the one who's like, "We're gonna coup now." The guy before him, Moon Yang-in, he was the only one that actually had like a normal presidency. Every single one of them, all the way back to Syngman Rhee, and I'm not even trying to make fun of these names. I'm just stupid. So, like I said, you can look this up on my my X handle. Every single one of them were either overthrown or assassinated or put in jail. And so you think we're pretty bad here? Every single one of the presidents in South Korea, except the last one before this guy, have been removed from office before the end of their term. I mean, if you're going to be consistent, at least be consistent in those ways, which is pretty crazy if you don't ask me. But yes, there's really not much to say about this. They've closed this all out. So I guess it's that. What was that all about? 5 words that will doubtlessly have winged their ways into diplomatic cables to the Western ambassadors in Seoul over the last few hours. The U.S. Department spokesman did a fine job in exposing just how off guard America was caught off through the course of the day. The fact that he chose language like gravely concerned was telling of the unknown but important stability of the Korean Peninsula. The Republic of Korea, which is South Korea, is home to nearly 30,000 U.S. troops because we have to be there because of the demilitarized zone. It is a key U.S. ally in the region. The news put a useful focus on the stability of the Korean Peninsula, both north and south. I mean, how about Kim Jong Un today, right? How about Kim Jong Un? He's sitting in the north. By the way, did you know? And I'm going to say by the way a lot this one because I got a lot of info in here. The birth rate in South Korea, I know a lot of people, it's like 0.86. The birth rate in North Korea is like 0.76. I'm sorry, 1.76, which is not above replacement level. But when you look at it, like they don't even have food in North Korea, yet they're able to have, at least more babies up there than the supposed prosperous South Korea. Take that what you will. It's not a condemnation of the South and not a promotion of the North. It's just interesting. North Korea has 1.6 or 1.79 birth replacement rate, births per deaths or whatever that is, 1.79. And the South Koreans have 0.86. So they don't even have one. They don't even have one baby for every death in the South. And they got 1.79 in the North. Little strange there. The other things to consider from the events in Seoul is America's political transition. Like many of the geopolitical maneuvers we've seen in the past few weeks, you have to wonder how much is happening because of this uniquely vulnerable time we're in. I don't know what that means. All I know is the president of South Korea was like, dude, the other party, and I know I sound like such an American, but that's why I guess that's why you're watching. It's not serious. Like those guys over there, they're all North Korean spies. So we got to stop this. Maybe he was trying to pull that before Trump got into office. I don't know. It's crazy how the election of Trump, he's not even elected. The media just said he won the election. He's not technically going to be elected until January 6th, if that even happens. And I'm not YouTube. I'm not saying January 6th in regards to anything else. That's the actual day they count the vote. So please don't, like, my stream has already dropped once tonight. Please don't do me the disservice of dropping it again. But the idea that he's the president, he's not even the president elect. He's not the president elect until January 6th. Then he's not even the president until January 20th. He's just Trump right now. And the fact of the matter is, Trump being elected has set off cataclysmic events around the world. You've got world leaders who are like, "Oh no, we're good, and don't worry about it anymore. We're fine." Zelensky, that whatever you want to think of him, I don't want to be too crass. He's talking about ending things. Putin's talking about that. There's, Trump is threatening the Middle East. He's like, get rid of the, I want the hostages out of there before I get into office. It's interesting. And I'll leave this segment on this. It is interesting to see how the rest of the world is reacting to the election of one Donald Trump. I'm sorry, I'm not the kind of guy to do this, but there's 300 people watching right now on X, which has to be some kind of algorithmic nonsense. I don't know why you're all being pushed to my show, but thank you for watching and sticking around. And if you like what I do, I have awesome tweets. So follow me, or X's, or whatever they call them, whatever they call them on X now. They're funny, so hang around. But let's just take it from this before we move on to the next segment. The world's reaction to Trump is one of, I guess, excitement and, well, I guess both sides of the coin. You can be excited and happy and excited and scared. You can be excited and scared of something. And I think there's a lot of them that are nervous about somebody like Trump, who, and I'm not trying to kiss Trump's rear. I don't like that idea. I'm not one of these. I'm not a Con Inc. person, as you can tell by my high-tech studio and the fact that my stream dropped like 10 minutes ago because my internet was like, wah. But Trump is actually a competent individual, and he's kind of crazy. And he actually gives a rip about America's place in the world. He just doesn't apologize for it, which is something a lot of people like. Whether you do or don't, it's up to you. I don't care. I don't condemn, I think it's fine. You want to have your president to have at least some respect for your country on the world stage outside of that. But the rest of the countries just don't know how to react. They just don't. And so we're seeing all kinds of weird things. Did you think there would be a coup in South Korea? I guess so. If you look at the history of the South Koreans and the fact that these people constantly are, I don't know, overthrowing or having these things just not work, and or having their leaders not work. And I'll show you. I could tell you, or I could just show it to you. Let's see here. Let me move this up here. This is check out this. This is from NETA. These are the presidents of South Korea from 1948 till now. Overthrown, assassinated, removed by military coup. Let me get off my ugly face and actually read that. Overthrown, assassinated, removed by military coup, sentenced to death after presidency. So I guess he made it, but they were like, "Oh no, you're still terrible, so you got to die." This one, sentenced to 22 years in prison after his presidency, imprisoned during that term of president. Number 3, as president, secured conviction against 2 of his predecessors, imprisoned under president number 3 and sentenced to death under president number 5. So like 3, 5, 7, they're all just killing each other. This one, impeached, later overturned, investigated for corruption. This one, arrested for corruption after presidency, sentenced to 15 years in prison, impeached and arrested. This one, nothing. And then Yu Su Luke, the one that's right here, this guy, who's apparently a Catholic, so I know, good for you. This guy's probably getting impeached. I don't think you can actually like start a coup and not have it work out and then go, "Oh, we're all just right. Christmas break, everybody. I'll get everybody a pizza party." No, I don't think that works that way. So it is very interesting. I didn't know that. I guess I could say it. I didn't know that the South Koreans were so volatile. You would think that, and that's always been one of those places that neocons and others have always pointed to, like, "Oh, look at South Korea." we were able to nation build in South Korea and look how stable of a democracy it is and blah, 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 blah. I don't think that's a great argument anymore. Right? I don't think that's really a solid argument when you see what has happened here today. Interestingly enough. Let's see here. What do you got, G Money? Word on the streets when he was stationed there in 2005 that every cab driver on the base was a spy for the North. I would believe that. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the kind of stuff they do back and forth there. That's great. That's great intel, buddy. Thank you. I appreciate that. And let me ask you, does that so why did Cat Turd like my Oh, that's not a real one. That's not real Cat Turd. Never mind. Who cares? If you're watching, you're watching. That's cool. But yeah, that wouldn't shock me one bit that every single one of them would be spies for the North. But yeah, they everybody who wanted to say that the South Koreans were the model democracy for the rest of the world. Not a great day for you guys. Sorry. Which is why you shouldn't nation build to begin with. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is Rick Cast. I am Rick, and it's that time of the day where everybody's kind of having dinner or heading home or just hanging out while you got a couple minutes. And I thank you. I really, truly thank you, every single one of you guys, for as long as you hang out with me, for hanging out. Retweet, like, subscribe, leave a comment under, and so forth. Mr. Brian, thank you for joining me, bud. I appreciate it. I have the mega powers in my chat giving me the thumbs up, and I appreciate you guys watching. Thank you so much. Let's get to our second story of the day. Probably everybody's favorite story of the day. And I don't know what's going on with my internet. I need to get Starlink, not because I love Elon Musk, but because I got this rural internet out here, and obviously it cannot handle the fury that is happening right now with this show. Anyway, so this is the headline. Let's take a look. Trump joking. You love how the Intelligencer or whatever it is like, does he joke about it? Suggests Canada becomes the 51st state. Now, if you believe for 1 second that Trump has any interest in annexing Canada, please do me a favor and run your head into a wall. There's no way. Why would Trump want essentially a second California in the Union? Because all it would do, it would drop however many senators and however many House of Representative members who would be flaming libtards into the Congress. First of all, they don't like that because they'd have to, do all kinds of adjustments to Washington, D.C., and we all know how much they don't like doing that anyway. But it's funny. The memes were hysterical for it. Trump himself posted on Truth Social or X or whatever. No, on his Truth Social. Apparently, a picture of him standing on top of a mountain looking at the Matterhorn, which happens to be in Switzerland. But who cares? The vibes were pretty good on that. But it is pretty interesting that they are taking it seriously. Like Politico put out. I saw Politico put out a story. Does Trump really want Canada? I mean, besides the oil reserves, what else does Canada have but snow? Snow and a bad immigration problem. It really does. We all talk about the southern border, as we should, because the southern border is being completely overrun. But the fact of the matter is, there's a lot of illegal immigration that's coming from the north. You also have the fact that the Chinese have been working with the Canadian military to conduct drills there. I don't know. I'm not a big drinker, so Crown Royale maybe. Is Crown Royale Canadian? That's how much of a loser I am. I don't really know the alcohol content. All I know is stuff that's made in Texas. I know Tito's and I know TX whiskey, and that's it. I don't really, and Shiner Bock and Revolver beer. That's it. I don't know your fancy alcohols anywhere else because I don't drink. I just eat like an idiot. But the fact of the matter is, let's actually see. Trump probably makes this joke off the cuff, right? Where he's like, if you don't want to stop it, we'll just come up there and make it a 51st state. I'll put 4 Trump hotels, 1 on each side of the ocean and 2 in the middle. By the way, they're beautiful hotels, so you might as well. But the fact is, these people are so psychotic. so psychotic that they actually write these articles. That's why I was always shocked that people are going, oh, the media doesn't want Trump back in office. Are you kidding me? Look how much stuff they have to write. What were they going to write? Oh, Joe Biden makes it down the hallway. News at 11. Now they actually have things to talk about. Now they have things to actually talk about now. Let's see. This is by Margaret Hartman, who wrote this. So understand that with the first state. I hope you're getting used to waking up to the stupidest news you've ever heard, because the latest dispatch on Donald Trump's pre-inauguration antics is really something. Last week, it was yesterday. What the hell? Maybe it was last week. Trump reportedly suggested to Justin Trudeau that Canada become the 51st state. Do you think he actually meant that? Or you think that Trump was being Trump and made a fantastic joke? That's right. He's a walking news story. It's like, oh, Trump's tie was blue instead of red, and they'll have 15 chyrons on it. Rachel Maddow makes $25 million. I'll say that again. Rachel Maddow makes $25 million a year at OSNBC so she can talk about this stuff. She must be thanking everybody that walks that Trump is back in office. Because these people, and the fact that she's like, oh, the stupidest news. Did you really think Maggie, isn't that your name? Maggie, Margaret, whatever, Margaret Hartman. Did you really think that you had to write this story? I'm sorry you got a master's degree in creative writing and you couldn't figure out how to write a novel, even though AI could do it for you. So now you're forced to actually be a quote unquote journalist. And they're like, hey, write a story about how Trump's going to be the 51st. He's going to take Canada. When everybody and their mother and their dead grandmother understand that Trump is probably one of the funniest men walking on the planet. And it's an off the cuff comment. And you know he loves doing that to somebody like Trudeau, because Trudeau is the ultimate soy boy who would be like, well, what do you mean? You're gonna take our, Fidel Castro Jr. You're gonna take our country? I don't know about that. No, yeah, right. Okay. Trump's having trouble with Massachusetts and California. I think he's going to wake up the 101st to go into Canada. You wouldn't even need that. You just draft the Salvation Army and they could probably take Canada in about 20 minutes. Really. Although, once again, I have to say the memes were fantastic. And I even got in on that one as well. But look at this nonsense. The fact that we're just making fun of the fact. That sounds like a joke, and it probably is, but it may be not. She literally wrote this. It may be a joke, but it may not be. Hey, Maggie, it's a joke. I know liberals have no sense of humor whatsoever, because in order to be so clenched up about every single issue imaginable, you have to surgically remove any sense of humor that you had before you became a liberal. I think it's part of one of those procedures. In order to become these ridiculous liberals that they are now, you have to get your sense of humor surgically removed. Yeah, I mean, sure. I wouldn't mind doing like a rescue mission for Kennedy Hall and some great Canadians, right? We'll put people like Maggie from this, drop her off. Can we do an exchange? Like, we don't have to invade Canada. If we want the good conservatives out of Canada, can't we just do like a trade prospect? Why don't we be like the Red Sox or the Yankees or the Dodgers? We'll take Kennedy Hall and we'll give you 15 Rachel Maddows, right? I'm sure we can negotiate. Trump can negotiate a trade on that. I think he absolutely could. We want Kennedy Hall, but we'll give you Rachel Maddow, Mika, and Joe. Right? One news guy for another. We'll take Kennedy Hall and his 15 kids, and they can take Rachel Maddow and all that. Do you really want? I don't know. Terrence and Phillip. They are a bit degenerate. I don't know if I want them. Anyway, so Maggie thinks it's not. Apparently, Trump floated this idea at a dinner at Mar-a-Lago on Friday, which the Canadian Prime Minister suggested that Trump tried to conduct serious trade negotiations via Truth Social. When Trudeau warned that Trump's threat to impose 25% tariff on all goods from Canada would have dire economic consequences, the president-elect suggested the U.S. could just annex the second largest country in the world. Yeah, hold on a second with that. Hold on with this contextualization. Y'all looked at a map of Canada, right? It may be the second largest country in the world, but it's got nothing. What is it? 75% or a large percentage of people that live in Canada live what? Very close to the southern border. Very close. Bryan Adams. Bryan Adams is a poison pill. Bryan Adams is he's once and for all a poison pill, right? We would get Kennedy Hall and we get some in Rush and a couple other good things. And then right as the deal's about to be completed, like, oh, you got to take Bryan Adams too. It's like, oh, no. You got to kill the trade. You got to kill the trade and renegotiate. All right. We still have to listen to Summer of 69 at every bar in the middle of July because of that guy. So no, thank you. But literally, yeah, I like how she's like, oh, you want to take the second largest country in the world because most of it is ice, lady. It's not like we're talking about beachfront property up in Canada. No offense to the Canadians up there. I know it's that, there are parts of Canada that's absolutely beautiful. I've been there a couple times. The fact that we could take Niagara Falls and make it just one big national park would be great. I don't know. Y'all ever been to Niagara Falls? I love it. My wife and I went there a couple years ago. That was one of our more favorite vacations up in Niagara. Good place, good times. But the fact that this lady's trying to be like, it's the second largest country in the world. Yeah, it's the second largest ice block in the world. Congratulations. Anyway, this is all just this one big joke. And the fact of the matter is, these people really are going to have to take this stuff seriously because, look, we're talking about it. We're talking about a joke that Trump made off the cuff about, Trudeau being the governor of New Canada, which I wouldn't do that. I would kick Trudeau out, send him back down to Cuba with his relatives. I don't know. This is just so stupid. It's so stupid, but it's so much fun because these people are dumb, right? She's like, oh, did he joke about it? Yeah. All right. Trump's going to send the National Guard up there. No way. Take Bret Hart. Hey, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. All right. So that's Trump talking about potentially taking Canada, which he's not. He's not talking about taking Canada. All you have to do is watch one Trump rally, and you realize that every other thing the guy says is a joke because he's funny. I know y'all like these Propel waters. I don't know. I think they're kind of fruity, but apparently they have electrolytes, so I'm gonna water my lawn with them after. Anyway, let's see. Let's get to our next story from Deadline.com. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm not playing this because I don't want to get copyright struck, A, and B, I have more people than I've ever had watch this show, and I don't want to scare you all away with this terrible trailer. You can watch the trailer if you want. And you can dislike it if you want. I really don't care. But it is interesting that this film and Captain America, Brave New World with not Captain America, Anthony Mackie, who I feel bad for, because I think I actually like Anthony Mackie as an actor. I think he's actually pretty solid. All of these films that were made in the post-Trump out of office to into office, this weird 4-year period where these DEI programs kind of went off the rails. They're going to have all these race swap DEI characters. They're going to try and push this agenda, even though most of these don't do well. And you're like, well, Rich, what about Wicked? Wicked is doing well in the US. If you've looked at the overseas numbers, Wicked is bombing everywhere else because everybody else is like, this is a wicked gay movie. And we aren't about that. Wicked has one of these things where it just has repeat viewing, right? It's got the same 500 people that are going to see the film every single day because they got no life. And so, yeah. So let's talk about this. Snow White is out. The trailer is out, and everybody was worried about this because this movie was supposed to come out, I think, like 2 years ago, and it still is this. But it dropped today. Disney has unveiled the official trailer for its live-action remake, which is funny because they have more CGI in it. I think they have more animation in this new. It's wicked gay. What do you want me to say? There's more animation, I think, in this live-action remake than there was in the original movie. So it's kind of funny how they're calling it a live action remake, but it's starring the not very white Rachel Zelger. She is Colombian, part Polish. That's just a fact. That's not me being racist. You can say I'm being racist. I really don't care. because that's an actual, we call it an actual fact. But she's there. It showcases more of Gal Gadot's evil queen and the vocal talents of Zegler, which is, you have to be fair on these things. Is Rachel Zegler actually very talented when it comes to singing? Yes, she is. Does that make up for a putrid personality? Not. She's not that good of a singer. Let's just be real. She is above mid. She's above average with her singing talent. But at the same time, it's not good enough to sweep away the rest of her putrid personality and the fact that she's really kind of just an awful person. She wished half of the country harm because Trump won. She didn't want any peace for us. So she went on an Instagram rant, because that's always a good thing to do when you're angry, is go to social media and pop off a couple of thoughts. But she did that. Now she's trying to say, oh, well, she tried to walk it back and say, like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, I don't want to hear that. Whatever, get out of here. But now they've done this. So she says, I was waiting on a wish in the first movie. I'm not a Disney nerd, so I don't know these things. And the seven dwarfs, Grumpy, Sneezy, Dopey, Sleazy, Happy, Bashful, Doc, and CG. Oh, I'm sorry, they're all CG. They're all CGI. That's pretty much all their names now. But it is what it is in that regard. The trailer, Snow Zegler tells the evil queen that people need some kindness. So they've decided, because Rachel Zegler, while not ugly, she's a young woman. When you put her up against Gal Gadot, it's like, well, you can't say fairest of them all. It's like saying, hey, we need a center for the San Antonio Spurs to play against the Los Angeles Lakers. Hey, Rick, you want to be the center? It's like, nah, that's not going to work. It's the same thing when you put anybody up against Gal Gadot. She's a very attractive woman. She was a former model. She's all that kind of stuff. So you're going to have to really bring it if you're going to do that. And they're like, oh, no. We're not talking about like fair as in the way somebody looks. We're talking about fair as in kindness. And you can tell the agenda straight out the gate when in the trailer, Snow Zegler says, the world needs kindness. It's like, that's not this movie, homie. And then the Wicked Queen, who happens to be her stepmother, promises to be the fairest of them all. But the queen's evil intent forces Snow Zegler to flee into the woods to escape. And then the CGI dwarfs show up because they were drafted last minute. There's some dancing. The prince shows up for 5 seconds. Then there's this scene where apparently Snow Zegler leads a rebellion into the capital, because that was part of the Brothers Grimm fairy tale, where she decided to cast off her locks and find her calling as a 5'2", 105-pound warrior princess, and decide to fight the evil queen, maybe with some lightsabers, because cross promotion and it's Disney. But it's just cliche, and I don't get it. I don't understand. I'm not obviously smart enough to know this, but when you watch a movie from a couple of years ago, I said this last night, I was watching The Mummy Returns on Sunday, and I'm watching it and I'm going, wow, this movie is shot so well and it's lit so well. And even with the terrible CG of the Scorpion King Rock, which nowadays, after seeing some Marvel movies, that actually looks a lot better in hindsight. You're watching these films and they're so well lit, and the color just jumps out at you, and you can see just all this detail on the screen. And then you watch a trailer for like Snow Zegler, and everything is so muted and it's so plainly done on a computer program, and it's so done with a graphics card and all this other stuff, and it just feels so fake. Like you guys couldn't go in, you couldn't find any kind of like, and I'm quoting Brett Dasovich from Pop Culture Prices, so please forgive me if he hears this. I doubt he will. But you guys couldn't find a forest like 10 minutes outside of the studio to go filming for like 10 minutes? You just put her on a soundstage? It's just the laziness of Hollywood, right? The fact that it's lazy, yet it looks cheap, and yet they keep slopping this stuff in front of people, expecting them to enjoy it. And then they were like, oh, well, everybody liked Dennis Villeneuve's movie. Yeah, that's because the guy puts the time in. He even admits he's more of a visual director. It is. Computers have become such a crutch. I used to say a famous line when I was on the Crusade Radio Network when we would joke about these things. I would say, we're going to fix it in post. And they literally just do. They're like, oh, her hand was in the wrong place. Don't worry, we'll cut it off and move on to the next scene. It's actually kind of funny. I haven't seen Gladiator 2 yet, but it is apparently because, Ridley Scott's elderly, isn't he? He's in his 80s. He set up 8 cameras for every shot. So if he missed it on the one angle, he's like, it's all right. We got it on the second angle. Let's just move on. There's a laziness. And you would think with the amount of money that's being spent, $250 million on a film, and yet they look worse than films that were made 10 years ago. Now, outside of guys like Nolan and outside of guys like Denis Villeneuve and others who actually are competent directors, the rest of them are just doing what the studio tells them, and they're trying to do it for as cheap as possible because apparently the crafts table costs $45 million for the food there, and nothing else can work because you can't tell me the salary for Rachel Zegler was so expensive that this movie needed to be north of $250 million. The fact of the matter is, the Snow Zegler trailer, Snow Zegler, the movie, which hits on March 21st, I may take a day off to see it just to be like, wow, this thing is trash. The crazy thing is Mark Webb, The Amazing Spider-Man is actually a decently crafted film. I mean, it's not fantastic. I think Mark Webb also did 500 Days of Summer, if I'm not mistaken. So the man knows how to direct stuff. The problem is when you have these budgets and you have these agendas, the budgets and the agendas, they take precedence over actually the film, the story, and all this other stuff. Like, we got to make sure Rachel Zegler, has her BA moment where she's trying to be the tough girl and, apparently lightsaber fights the queen in the middle. And we got to make that look believable, even though it will never look believable. And so it's just absolutely hysterical that this trailer has come out. It's getting ratioed into the ground as it should be. It's probably going to flop hard. I don't know. We can start talking about it now. It probably won't make 25 million in the first weekend. It may not. It depends on when that March date falls. If that's the winter break or spring break schedule for schools and parents need to just drop their kids off somewhere, or whatever the case may be. But it doesn't look good for this movie. This movie was postponed a couple times because it just looks like trash, or the fact that I know movie critic tube can't wait for this film to come out. March 21st is great because there's a press tour coming with Rachel Zegler, and it is just going to be a gold mine. This show included. Can't wait for it because that's easy money for me. I mean, not money. I don't get paid to do this stuff, but that's easy content for people like us, man. Oh, look, Rachel Zegler said something else stupid today. News at 11. But you can watch it for yourself. I watched it, and the first thing I'm like, okay, that's it? Because really, what else is there? All right, let's get to our final story of the day, ladies and gentlemen, here on Rickcast, because I'm Rick, and I'm a guy just talking about stuff, and I love the fact that you guys have been hanging out with me for this entire show. Please retweet it on X, leave me a comment in the chat that's on X if you'd like, and thank you. I hope you all show up tomorrow because that would be cool too. It would, and if you don't, I get it. Things happen. I'm just super happy that you guys are here tonight. I'm sorry, I got to plug something in. Working on the fly here, baby. All right, here we go. Last one. Last story. I always talk about gun stuff on these shows because I'm a gun guy, and they don't get the attention they deserve, I personally believe. So, Republicans eye gun measures in the worst 100 days of Donald Trump's presidency, which is not the headline. I just murdered it because I'm kind of stupid. But here we go. So, this is by Tom Knighton, great Tom Knighton, bearingarms.com. Donald Trump's return to the White House means a lot of things to a lot of people. Not all of them are good, admittedly, but for gun owners, the news is mostly good. Yeah. You sure about that? Are you sure about that? I don't know. Let me just be completely real up front. I don't think it's a great thing. Trump, despite the fact that somebody tried to kill him twice that we know of, he at least stayed strong to his commitment At least he said the right things while on the campaign trail. Obviously, he was trying to get elected. I don't know how he's going to react in office. That's a different thing. And even worse, you got Pam Bondi, who's making the rounds, famous red flag supporter, famous gun grabber. I'd say I'm wrong. Pam Bondi is a gun grabber. She is a gun grabber. And I don't think out of all the things that Trump's going to be doing in the first 100 days, I don't believe. That's why I'm highlighting this article now, because this is what the gun community expects Donald Trump to do. There's a lot of people that are expecting things from Trump. There's the conservative, the pro-life movement that are expecting things from him. There's the gun lobby, the gun groups that are expecting stuff from him. There are the new like Tulsi Gabbard, Robert RFK Jr. people that are there that are going to be expecting things. So who is he going to try and serve? It's going to be interesting because I don't think Trump really serves anybody but himself. I think his only real agenda is to try and get as much economic stuff done as possible, and then they kind of go from there. But the fact that everybody's, oh, look, he can do this in his first 100 days, and that in his first 100 days, and this and that and the other thing, I don't know. But let's see what the gun community can expect, or they want to expect from Trump, because as some people are saying, I doubt it. I pulled the lever for Trump because, I as a Catholic, and that was a big thing in the Catholic community, whether we should vote for him or not. I did. I figured it was a better call than not voting for him, because you knew what Kamala was going to do. You knew what she was going to do. If he does nothing, then at least the status quo is established, and we can do stuff at the state level for gun rights. Anyway, blah, 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 none of them are good, blah, 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 blah. We're not likely to see some of the assaults in the Second Amendment we've dealt with repeatedly over the last 4 years. That's going to be one thing that's positive, is that, we don't have to worry about Trump and his group. I mean, Pam Bondi, I don't know. That's the thing. With Pam Bondi, if Matt Gaetz was at the helm, I would agree with this. Without Matt Gaetz and with somebody like Pam Bondi there, I don't know, and I don't trust it. But it doesn't look like that's where Trump's administration or congressional Republicans are going to halt things. As the president's first 100 days are important, it's when they try to fulfill the promises they made to the campaign trail. And for Trump, that includes guns. Yeah. Like what? Whatever. I don't know. Who's the Kennedy Hub? I don't know who you are. I don't know why I clicked on the link. Sorry. There's a promotion for that. 400 people. Are you people crazy? What are you doing here? Thank you, though. I love y'all. Thanks. I don't even know you, but thank you. Anyway, having won the election and sweeping it to power, Republicans are planning an ambitious 100-day agenda with President-elect Donald Trump and the White House GOP lawmakers, blah, blah, blah. 4 federal gun violence prevention efforts Trump could dismantle. Let's see. There is blah, 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 blah. So these are the things. Getting rid of Steve Dettenbach out of ATF. Obviously, he's going to appoint somebody. I saw Mason Cawthorn, if that's his name. It's Mason Cawthorn, I believe. He was on with Timcast last night. He's gunning for that job. Pun intended. He's gunning for that job, and I talked about it in my video a week or two ago. He wants the job at ATF. There is the sentimental favorite of Brandon Herrera that I have. My organization, L1121 Strategies, has endorsed Brandon Herrera for the ATF position. I know that's a huge swing for everybody. We all want Brandon Herrera there, but I think it's going to probably be Mason Cawthorn at ATF. Either one, I think, would be solid. Obviously, Brandon Herrera would be so much better, but Mason Cawthorn, listening to him last night, he at least has the right idea going into it. So getting rid of Dummenbach out of ATF, which is great. This is the one I think needs to happen, because the ATF one's going to happen. Like, Denbach's not going to be there. He's going to leave. The Trump team, Donald Trump, day one, needs to get rid of the unconstitutional White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Needs to get rid of it. That position is not constitutional. You could say, as a federal, as a place in the executive office, as a part of the federal government, it could violate the Second Amendment, right? That's an absolute violation of the Second Amendment because it's there. Some people have tried to argue, well, it prevents gun violence. And I'm saying, you're dumb if that's all, if that's what you think it's there for. That's sweet of you. Bless your heart. Repealing the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, that would be great. That's going to be hard because John Cornyn walked that sucker up to Joe Biden, right? Rhino, the idiot from my state, John Cornyn, walked that thing up to Joe Biden. So that's going to be real hard to try and repeal with the current senators, with Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and Mitch McConnell and all these other morons that somehow managed to not ever work a job their entire life, but still make more money than most of us will ever see. So good for them, I guess. And then repealing Biden's gun control executive orders. He can do 3 out of these 4. And these would not be crazy things that would take him a lot of effort. Obviously, appointing either Cawthorn or Herrera as the ATF head would be fantastic. Repealing the Biden gun control executive orders, that, he's going to be doing other stuff with executive orders on day one. He might as well do that as well. And getting for me, out of those 3, the most important one is getting rid of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. Because if he doesn't get rid of it now, it's going to be there forever. Odds are that it's going to be tough for him to get rid of now, because once those things are put in, they have a tendency to kind of just stay there forever. But the fact is, he's got to get rid of that one. He's got to get rid of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. And then the other ones can kind of fall into place once that happens. Why am I such a stickler for that? Because the ATF thing, that's going to take care of, that's going to work itself out one way or another. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, I mean, that may or may not happen. That may happen in a Congress down the line when you get rid of like Mitch McConnell and you get rid of the Murkowskis and you get rid of all those people. You might be able to get that one without Trump and just kind of force it to the table. But the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention, it needs to go away. And that's the one I've been talking about that for a while. In truth, most of those could be dealt with on day one. Those are all executive level actions Trump can do with the stroke of a pen. Repealing the BCSA is going to take a little more effort. And Tom agrees with me that he doesn't think that's going to happen. So that's kind of the last story I want to talk about right now. They're kind of talking about what Trump could do gun-wise from the executive office within his first 100 days. And, ATF director, he's going to pick somebody. It sounds like it's probably going to be Cawthorn. He's a Trump loyalist. Trump wants loyal guys. That's his people. He'll take them. Great. Getting rid of the White House Office of Gun Violence Prevention. I know I sound like a broken record. That one needs to happen. And then just rolling back the executive orders that Biden put into place on gun control, that can be done. The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act, that's probably not going to happen until you get a Congress that'll actually work with them on that. But we'll see how it goes from there. All right, guys, that's it for this episode of Rickcast, episode 2 in the books. Once again, thank you to every single one of you. 477, right? If it never gets that high again, I'm still through the moon. And I just really, it's a tough, I didn't think anybody was going to be watching it this soon. And the fact that you guys are hanging out with me today, it's awesome. I'm not going to forget that. So hopefully you guys will hang out with me tomorrow too. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern here on X and YouTube and Rumble. Subscribe to those and follow me here on X for tomorrow's episode as well. I'm Rick Barrett. I'm cordially known as the Armed Catholic. I'm the founder of L1121 Strategies, which is a foundation committed to first-class firearm training with the foundation of Catholic tradition because the two are compatible. I also talk about stuff on the internet. So I thank you all once again. I will talk to you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central Time, 7 p.m. Eastern here on Rickcast. Night, y'all.